Welcome to NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look at all things NASA.
Today we're here at Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works located in Palmdale, California.
And Franklin, I'm so excited after all these years that we've been talking about this. Now behind us is the brand new X59 experimental aircraft. Can't wait, Franklin, to learn more about how they're going to reduce that sonic boom to a sonic thump.
Yes, Blair, you know we've been looking at Quests and the X59 for many years. Back at NASA Langley Research Center, we've seen animations, we've seen models, we've seen it in wind tunnels, but to see it up close and personal, it is really, really cool. Today, Lockheed Martin employees and NASA employees have a Friends and Family Day so they can come on out, see the plane in person, and experience a lot of activities that they have set up here at Skunk Works. So while you wrap this up, I'm going to go ahead and talk to some of the friends and family and see what they're doing.
Awesome. And I had a chance to talk with Kathy Baum about the X59 and why this particular plane is so important for NASA. Kathy, we are super excited to actually see the X59 in person finally with that beautiful paint job. It's hard to believe this has come to fruition, but I was wondering, can you give me just a brief summary of the whole purpose of X59 and what NASA hopes to learn in the process?
So we are really excited about this milestone, but the really exciting thing is the overarching Quesst mission, which is two parts. One is the design, build, and test of the X59, show that it's quiet, supersonic thump on the ground instead of the loud boom that you would get from a traditional supersonic aircraft. And then we will take that aircraft across the country to different communities, and we will gauge the response of the communities to the sonic thump and provide that information to the regulators to hopefully change the regulation that is currently in place, has been in place for 50 years, from a speed limit to a sound limit. So right now the regulation says no commercial supersonic flight over land, domestically and internationally. And so what we're hoping to do is provide the data so that they can say, if the aircraft is below this sound level, it can fly supersonically over land. And then that will open up the future of commercial supersonic flight.
So this blows my mind on two levels, right? So the first level is we're dealing with an X-plane, already mind blown. But the second is, like, for the first time, this is an X-plane mission where we actually can really understand, or that benefit will be for everybody on the ground. It means that in the future, if successful, maybe one day, I can get from the East Coast to the West Coast much quicker. Or more importantly, some of those longer overseas flights can happen more efficiently. And that's a great benefit to everyone.
It's a huge benefit. I mean, spending more of your time on vacation, more of your time with your families, or even for work purposes, like being able to do a really far away trip in a day would be great. It really has the potential to make the world even smaller than it is right now. You know, make more places accessible to everyone.
Tell me a little bit about these people on the ground. Will you go out and actually give them equipment to measure the sound, or is this just pure anecdotal data where they can respond to what they're encountering?
So there will be some equipment on the ground from the project to make sure we understand what the sound level is that they're hearing. And then we will be gathering data from the communities using tools and responses from the community to gather that information, but not like community scientists, you know,
right.
But really kind of everyday person, you know, what did you think about this sound? Did it interrupt your day? Is it just a background noise that you can live with long term?
And believe me, some of the neighbors I've had, you know, you could do sonic booms over my house, I'd never hear it. But that's maybe another mission for NASA in the future. Kathy, we're actually celebrating Friends and Family Day with the X59. And I'm wondering, what exactly is Friends and Family Day?
So Friends and Family Day is our opportunity as team members to bring in our friends and family who haven't been able to see the development of X59. They've followed it online or when we've been sharing things on Facebook, but this is their opportunity to come in and see the aircraft and see the fruits of our labor.
Well, that's awesome, and we can't wait to hear even more from Friends and Family. In fact, Franklin's going to talk to some folks there at Friends and Family Day and learn more about the X59.
Was, you know, what does it look like when we keep talking about how we Yeah, but what's the X59?
You know you want one of these. When you see that flying in the air, it's going to be a great day.
There were quite a few people here for friends and family today. They were taking pictures, they were doing 3D printing. I saw Snoopy and the Skunk Works mascot, the skunk. I also had an opportunity to talk to a few people about the technology in the X59 and also ask them a couple of other questions just for a little fun. Have you ever heard a sonic boom?
I have.
Yes. Actually, yes. Yes, I have.
I have. Living out here, I've heard some sonic booms.
If you were to give me an audio representation of what that sonic boom sounded like, what would it be?
It would sound like boom. It sounds like boom.
Just boom?
Yeah, boom.
I don't want to say quite earthquake, but definitely a little bit like something that you should be bothered by. Like I was a little concerned and then was like, I think that was a plane.
So you know that the X59 is going to reduce the sonic boom to a sonic thump. What would the sonic thump sound like?
The doom?
Like thump. It would sound like
They say the sonic thump is supposed to sound like equivalent of a car door closing.
And what does that sound like?
Boom.
I believe a sonic thump sounds a little bit more like.
I don't think I heard it.
Did you? That's exactly it.
Okay, good deal. So you know the X59 has not been named yet. If you were to name this X-plane, what would that name be?
It's a good question. I don't know what I would call it.
probably Spike.
I would call it Silent Thunder.
Silver Surfer.
The Thumper has a great ring
The
to it.
Thumper.
Thumper.
Yeah, Thumper. We'll go with Thumper.
You know, I'm a bit of a nerd, so I might say Excalibur because it's one of one, right? You know, and it's so special. The amount of effort that it took to make this X-plane, it really is something that only one group of people could really do by coming together. So I think Excalibur would be a great name, honestly, for this.
If the X59 were being made into a movie, who do you think would play your part?
Beyonce.
Of course.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Michael Richards, probably. You know, Kramer from Seinfeld. It's I'm not an elegant person.
You know, I could go with somebody really popular right now and be like, oh, Michael B. Jordan. But, you know, I don't know if I look that good. I'm going to have to say like Michael B. Jordan or something.
I would have to say Issa Rae.
Boom! I was about to say it. I don't want to insult you or anything like that, but I thought of you. I looked at you. I said, Issa Rae.
You know, people always say I look like Russell Wilson. So, you know, let's say his first stint in acting could be portraying me, you know, in a small role in X59.
I would obviously play my own part. Actually, I don't hire out. I would play me. Yeah, I don't know about everybody else though.
We got a lot of really great answers from both NASA and Lockheed Martin's friends and family. And speaking of Lockheed Martin, Blair spoke to Dave Richardson about their role in building this great plane.
Dave, I know Lockheed Martin has worked on a lot of X-planes in the past, but tell me a little bit about the challenges it took to build this plane that will actually mitigate a sonic boom.
I think the biggest one was really waiting for the technology of advanced computers and computer speed to catch up to the science that was actually developed more than 50 years ago by NASA on how to make something low boom. The iterative process that is needed in order to change and massage the shape of the airplane, if you'd done this 40 years ago, we would have had to manually do that in a wind tunnel, and it would cost tens of millions of dollars and tens of years to actually iterate that. Whereas now, with the advent of software that can model it and the computers that can chunk through that fast enough, we're able to do those iterations basically in months. It still doesn't take hours, it still takes months as we iterate on them. Another significant challenge of building X-planes or one-off airplanes is that you only build one of them. And unlike production runs like F-35, F-16, F-18, if something comes up during the assembly or during test where a part breaks or is damaged and we need a new one, there's not another airplane in the queue for us to go and borrow a part. And so there's a challenge with that. There's a challenge with suppliers and others. When we ask them to build one thing, they make the money in making a lot of things. And so it is hard for them. And there are challenges when it comes to just making one of something.
And I guess that's why you use test pilots, because when it's this unique instance, you need somebody with a lot of extra skill as they experiment with flying that plane.
Yeah, the X59 is actually pretty easy to fly as you fly it in the simulator. You don't see all of the smarts that went into the flight control system. But because the airplane is so long and there's some unique things about just the dynamics of that structure, it's sort of like a diving board. It does bend and it moves and flexes in flight. We do have very narrow limits on how much you can pitch the airplane up or down or side to side. And so again, we have the best pilots that are in the world, and they are just practicing. But it is a unique airplane, and for right now, we do have just 3 pilots who are qualified to fly it.
And they're also using a new kind of X-Vision, you call it. It's the ability to fly using a forward-facing camera. Tell us a little bit about that.
So if you remember going back 60 years to Concorde, you remember that the nose of the airplane drooped. It drooped because the pilots couldn't see over that long, skinny nose. You wanted that long, skinny nose and that fairing over the cockpit to make the airplane more aerodynamic. We have a really, really long nose. We can't make that nose go down when we're coming into land. The other thing is we couldn't afford to have a canopy in front of the pilot, so a windshield for him to look out on. That created a huge shock and made the airplane much louder. So we have this external vision system, which NASA developed. It's a key enabler really for the program. If you really want to look and say, well, what are the technologies that make this happen? We talked about the advent of fast computers and the software to model the shocks. But the external vision system is the other key element that's required in order to make this airplane happen. Without it, it wouldn't work. We have the vision system that looks forward, but when we do come into land and that nose comes up, that camera's blocked. And so what we have is a little trapeze that comes down, and there's another camera that looks and we can see the runway. So the pilot really does look at this, computer screen, if you will, a very high fidelity one right in front of him.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Now, one thing I have to ask you about is the paint job. When I saw that for the first time, I'm like, this is the most unique kind of matte finish, right?
Yeah.
I expected glossy, but I saw this matte finish and I thought, it looks really good. Was that just an aesthetic choice?
No, it wasn't. Here we're in the hangar up at Armstrong, and you look at the F-18, the other planes, they have this nice glossy paint. And originally we thought that's how we're going to paint the airplane. What we do with the X59 is every little detail on there actually makes a shock that contributes to the loudness of the boom. And on the trailing edges of a lot of wings of normal airplanes, you have these little wires that stick out. They're static discharge wire. Like when the airplane goes through the air, it's like you rubbing your feet on the carpet, and it creates static electricity. The paint that we have on the airplane makes it so that we don't have those static discharge wires. It makes it so we don't create that static electricity. So think of putting like Teflon on your shoes, if you will. But it does look different because it's not shiny, and because of just the way the paint is, it's very unique. It has a conductive property to it, but we don't touch it. It's one of those things that just likes fingerprints and things like that. So we do baby the airplane.
Well, that's smart anyway, especially with me around. You don't want me going up and checking it out.
I always want to touch it.
I know, I could see myself just reaching out. You want to do it, but that's awesome. Thanks, Dave. This was fantastic information about the X59. And we're going to learn even more facts about this great plane from Franklin at Family Day.
So we're going to start off. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then we'll have some follow-up questions, and it'll be kind of like a discussion, okay? First, can you tell me a fun fact about the X59?
Fun fact about the X59 is it's just a couple of inches shorter than 100 feet long.
Of the close to 100 feet, the nose is 38 of it.
It's using the landing gear off of the F-16, but the airplane is almost exactly 2 F-16s long. So you took the landing gear off of a short plane and you stuck it on an airplane that's twice its length.
The X59 will fly at about 55,000 feet.
Okay, now I'm going to give you some of my fun facts, and we'll see if you can answer some follow-up questions that I have about the X59. Ready to go?
Yes.
The new plane is called X59. What does X59 stand for?
Experimental.
Experimental, 59 doesn't stand for any, that's the 59th X-plane.
This is 59th X-plane, yes.
The 59th X-plane.
Now, when I first saw the X59 in person, I was like, wow. what was your expression like?
The nose is way too big. Way too big. Anna, don't judge him. It feels like the nose is gonna fall right off.
Okay, all right. The X59 is roughly 100 feet long and about 30 feet wide, the size of a basketball court. How many LeBron Jameses can you fit inside the X59?
I'd say 30. Like,
This is a trick question.
10.
10. All right.
Dad?
Well, if he wants to stay in one piece, 1.
So NASA uses an external vision system, which is comprised of computers, sensors, and HD monitors to ensure safe navigation. This replaces the standard window on an aircraft. If the front-facing view is called an external vision system, what is the rear view called?
So then maybe the internal vision system.
Maybe the back external vision system?
I don't think there is a rear view. I don't think there is.
I don't think there's a rear view because why would you need to see in the back when you're flying forwards?
Lockheed Martin, who built this plane, did so in their skunk works here in Palmdale, California. Their mascot is a skunk. What would your mascot be?
Has to be Pilot Snoopy. Maybe like a cloud, but with like a face on the cloud.
Maybe like Neil Armstrong or like a rocket or a plane or also Snoopy.
This is the final question. The X-15 holds the speed and altitude record for a rocket plane at Mach 6.7 in 354,000 feet. Neil Armstrong flew the X-15 7 times. How many times did your family member fly the X-59 virtually?
0. Probably 0 times. 0.
Dad?
2 or 3.
2 or 3? Okay, good deal.
0. I'm pretty sure that it's 0 also.
Both wrong. I've flown the X59 virtually many times, and I've successfully landed it. So it's not that hard to fly, actually.
It truly is a special thing to see the friends and family and all the people that contributed to the making of this great plane together in one place, enjoying themselves. Earlier, I had a chance to ask Kathy and Dave about what this event meant to them and the project as a whole.
It's not just the team members who are contributing to this project. It is also their friends and their family. The support that they get from those people is so key to them being able to achieve their job and to contribute to X59.
Actually, this week marks 32 years for me at the Skunk Works. Over 25 years of those were spent in black programs. My kids grew up not knowing what it was that I was doing. This has been a dream job and a dream career for me, but I couldn't show people what I did. I couldn't tell my dad and others who love airplanes as well. But the X-59 is unique, it being an unclassified program, and also the NASA desire to really be very public about it, to get the public excited to participate in the community response, has allowed me and those who work on the program at the Skunk Works to be very open with what we're working on.
There are a number of people who have traveled a lot for this project. There are a lot of sacrifices, long hours, weekends, missed birthdays, missed anniversaries, those type of things. And this is friends and family's chance to really see what they have actually been contributing to, because the support that they've been given their team members has been really important to the success of this team.
We all get on airliners, we all get in our cars, we all drive on freeways, we all have our cell phones. There's a lot of science behind all those things, and there's a lot of engineering, and there's a lot of manufacturing know-how, and all these things all combine to make things that you think are impossible, possible, or those things that people say it can't be done, actually make them real, which is what we've done with the X59. This is something that everybody thought was, you can't do that. And so next time you're watching a movie and the credits come up, pause and think about that, about the army of people that were required to make that movie that you enjoyed or hated.
Yeah.
But the same thing exists for the X59. There's an army of people, in suppliers, people at Lockheed, people at NASA, that have enabled the airplane from 0 to 100 in 32 years. And so just how smart they are, to just their ability to solve problems or to get the funding, to just get roadblocks out of the way. And so yes, it's a big deal to have this family and friends to be able to share it and have those credits go by.
Considering where we are and what they do here, I'm surprised they let us up in here. But I had a great time, had some wonderful conversations with friends and family of the NASA and Lockheed Martin employees, and I'm just happy that we had this opportunity to be here.
Likewise, and it was just fun to bob and weave in and among the crowd and get to know everybody. But before we go, we have one more special thing to share. We produced an X59 first flight trailer, and we're going to share it with you now.
And in honor of Dave Richardson, make sure you stick around for the credits.
Always important. You're watching NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look at all things X59. Say for instance, we have a standard aircraft that flies from LAX to the East Coast, and we have a supersonic technology plane fly from JFK to the West Coast. Over what state would these two aircraft intersect?
Nebraska?
Missouri.
I think we got it wrong.
Oh, I don't really have an answer for you.
Oh, okay.
I was looking for some of that super engineering math to take over.
Nebraska.
This is not in here. Oh. This is not in here.